how do we manage our human animal to ultimately allow us to continue on this self-development journey, to reach our higher purpose, and really to experience deeper levels of happiness and success? Well, there's many different parts to it, but once you have that crystal clear idea, then I can strive for more purpose and strive for more meaning and connection and happiness in my life. Hi friends, welcome back. Today I am excited to share my most powerful secret for self-development. And we're going to get into that. But first, I do want to share a little bit about a recent trip that the family and I took to Australia. And if any of you have been to Australia, it is such a beautiful country, and we had such a magical time. We live in Southern California, and it's summer here, and so we went to Sydney, and we stayed there for a full week, and it's winter in Sydney, which that just means, 50s and like low 60s, which was super refreshing. But one of the mornings, we were staying downtown with beautiful view of the harbor and the opera house. And the kids and I grabbed a ferry and we took it across the harbor to the Taronga Zoo. And this was the most incredible zoo I've ever been to. And I don't know if it's just the setting, because these animals, there was a pride of lions in this whole lion exhibit. And they're on this hillside, and they have the most amazing view of the harbor. And so it was just the opposite view that we had from our hotel downtown. They have this view, and you see the opera house, and you see the harbor bridge and the city, and all these lions just in this beautiful habitat. And there was just something about the animals were so interactive, and the way they put the habitats together. There was a tiger exhibit where they had this Jeep that was like built into it, so the kids could go into the Jeep, and it's like now you're in the tiger's habitat, kind of, because you're like, poking into it, and the tiger's walking by. But this whole experience, we loved the zoo so much. We went back 2 days in a row. But looking at these animals and really interacting with these exotic, beautiful animals that are so well cared for reminded me of my really most powerful tool for self-development that I don't think I've done a full episode on. One of the animals that I'm thinking of now was a sun bear, which a sun bear is actually, it's not a carnivore. So it eats, leaves and different things, and it's kind of smaller for a bear. So it looked like twice the size of our Mastiff German Shepherd, and it was up in this hammock. Its name was Mary, and it was playing with a blanket. So it just kept putting like a blanket around itself, like a scarf, and then would go under the blanket. But just so interactive and intelligent, these animals. And so it's reminded me of how I love to view myself and us as humans as human animals. And this sounds so bizarre, and so we're going to get into it. But this concept of taking care of yourself and managing your human animal, because we really are two things, right? And this, I get a lot of this from my study of Joseph Campbell. And we've talked about him in previous episodes. If you're interested in his work, which he studied mythology and comparative religion, but the power of myth. And really one of the big messages that we get from his work is, hey, like you're two things. You are a physical being, right? We are a mammal, like all these beautiful animals that we interacted with at the zoo in Sydney. We're a mammal. And there's a lot that goes into that. The physical part of our being, our nervous system, our body, right? All of this being a mammal, these impulses that we have. But then we're also consciousness, right? There's this spiritual aspect to us, the deeper part of who we are, and this mind that we have, right? And so this idea of managing your human animal gives us almost this permission to see ourselves as these two different things and to make this distinction in how we manage ourselves and take care of ourselves and have that discipline, right? Because, at that zoo, these animals, I can guarantee you that they're on a schedule. And I know this because going 2 days in a row, we saw when the feedings happened at the same time and there's a routine to their life, right? They're all on a special diet that's been, figured out by nutritionists and is ideal for their bodies so they can keep their bodies in great shape, right? There's all of this intelligence that goes into managing these mammals so that they can, feel good, be healthy, and then, be at their best, meeting their highest potential so that they can give, the visitors at the zoo a good time and so that they themselves can be living this great life, right? And we can do this for our animals. We have a German Shepherd Mastiff at home, Cookie, and she has a regimented diet. She has her routine of chasing the ball and, taking her nap here at this time. And everything in her life is so structured for her. And we have this, controlled environment of our house and our property where she can walk around back behind the gates. And the result is a well-managed dog who's healthy and thriving and friendly and, meeting her highest potential. And so I feel like with humans, I know with myself, it gets so convoluted because we're not just a mammal. We're not just this physical being. We have this spiritual consciousness, this deeper level to us, these complex emotions and these complex thought processes, dreams and desires and a need for purpose. And it's so easy for us to kind of conflate the two together, right? And I think a perfect example of that is emotional eating. For us humans, it's very often not as simple as, hey, this is the ideal nutrition for me to eat on a daily basis, be at a healthy weight, only be putting fuel in my body that's benefiting me. It's harder for us because we have emotions around food. We get addicted to substance. It's kind of conflated with that other part of us. And so this idea of kind of separating, like, hey, I'm living inside of a human animal, and this human animal has impulses that are not going to benefit me, is going to want to go and eat sugar and, not exercise. And there's all of these habits and things that if left to, what my human animal would want to do, which is probably the lowest and the laziest thing, I'm not going to get very far, right? And then there's this struggle and this war inside of, we could call it our consciousness or our higher self, that little voice, that reasoning in you, and then your impulses, your laziness, your procrastination, right? There's that struggle that is so uniquely human. It's something that we all feel at some point, right? One of the times that we most feel it is in the new year when we're like, gosh, we just indulged ourselves and now we're going to, I'm going to eat healthy and I'm going to exercise. And then there's this push and this pull inside of us where it's like, no, I don't want to, right? You have this idealistic idea, but then the human animal kind of, like when your dog sits down and you're pulling on the leash, like, come on, let's go. Your human animal is like, nope, not getting on board. And so the reason that I bring it up in this light, and I'm certainly not the first person to ever conceptualize us as human animals, right? As the mammal part of us with this deeper potentiality for spirituality and consciousness in us. But the reason that it it really resonates with me is the way that it's almost like you're externalizing all of the struggle, right? In even just picturing, it's not personal to you that your human animal wants to be lazy today, or that your human animal has this impulse to eat sugar, right? You have this human animal to manage. That's normal. And so there's this really cool ability to depersonalize the struggle of being human. I hope this is making sense, because this is a concept that's a little bit out there, but when it clicks, when it really clicks and you can make that connection yourself, and you can kind of get this clarity inside of like, oh yeah, there are these two parts of me. There is that kind of voice of reason. There is that part of me that feels a little deeper, that's a little more tuned in. And then there's these impulses and there's these frustrating habits. And when you really just picture it as like, I've got this human animal to take care of. And then you can start to do it in a way that benefits you in the long run. Okay, so how do we manage our human animal to ultimately allow us to continue on this self-development journey, to reach our higher purpose, and really to experience deeper levels of happiness and success? Well, there's many different parts to it, but once you have that crystal clear idea of like, I am consciousness that is inside of a human animal. I am living in this human animal body, and this is the ride, right? My first task is to manage this human animal, and once I can manage this human animal, then I can strive for more purpose and strive for more meaning and connection and happiness in my life. So, first things first is your environment. So you think about these beautiful animals at the zoo, and you look around at their habitat, and these things are meticulously cleaned. They're beautifully designed to just benefit this animal, right? It has everything it needs. And there aren't harmful substances or harmful influences in their immediate environment, right? And the zookeepers work so hard to just keep the environment pristine, which directly impacts these animals. So you think about your own life, think about your environment, right? And we're in and out of different environments all day. But where we live is our biggest influence because we spend the most time there. Where we work, right? The car or however we transport ourselves, right? Are you keeping it clean? Are you keeping the junk out, right? Is it organized? Like, these are very simple things that we kind of know, right? Like, we know, hey, I should keep things clean. I should be organized. I should, like, for me, whenever I get home, I clean up my car. Like, whatever's in there, doesn't matter what it is. If I brought this to the gym or this home from work, whatever it is, like, I just stop. And if you do it every day, it takes like 30 seconds, right? You just look around. Did I have any trash? Is there anything out of order? And you clean it up. Instilling habits like that, where your environment, where this human animal is going to hang out, is as clean and orderly and pristine as possible. Another thing about being a human animal is that we can really start to notice our nervous system, right? And this is part of, it's very much connected to our health and our mental health, but our nervous system is impacted by our environment. And if we have, loud noises, or if we have the TV on all the time, or if we have clutter, or whatever's happening, if there's chaos, if it's more chaos or more order, it impacts our nervous system. And just going back to the fact that we're mammals, our nervous system is automatically impacted. I don't control my nervous system per se. When I'm in a certain environment, my nervous system is reacting to the environment, right? Just like those animals at the zoo, they're reacting to what they're experiencing automatically. And so thinking about this as you manage yourself, right? Your body, now this is the biggest one, I think, when it comes to properly managing your human animal. The diet and the exercise, the activity level of the animals at the zoo is so controlled by their animal trainers, the zookeepers, right? And so that's your responsibility to yourself. You live in this human animal. You decide what you eat. You can figure out, very simply, you can figure out the ideal nutrition for your body. You can have one session with the nutritionist, or you could just do some digging online for your age, your gender, your BMI. Like, what should I be eating every day, right? And what activity should I be doing? And then if you treat yourself like you're the zookeeper and this is the human animal that I want to allow this human animal to thrive, then you write out your schedule and you stick with it, right? And how much easier is it to do it in that way than to approach each day with like, well, what do I feel like doing today, right? Going back to kind of conflating and combining the two parts of you, that consciousness and the emotions with your human animal, right? And you're allowing the emotions to start making some decisions, and you're letting things get cloudy and not staying on task with managing and training this human animal for optimal performance and enjoyment. So your mind is another aspect, right? And in today's world, it's so easy to allow your mind and your thoughts to be constantly bombarded with different things, right? Whether it be having the TV on or scrolling social media or whatever, having all the alerts on your phone on so that it's constantly making sounds. There's so many ways to allow our minds to be cluttered and overwhelmed and busy all the time, right? Even if if part of your management of your human animal is to go on a walk or go on a run, something where you have the option to listen to something. And maybe you're listening to something that's helping train you, or music that's helping to calm your nervous system, right? Or you also might be just allowing stuff to constantly be bombarding your mind and not giving your mind and your ears a break every now and again. Going back to like, if we were managing this exotic human mammal at the zoo, wouldn't we give it time where it's quiet and it's peaceful and it can let its mind process things, and it can take a break from just all of the overwhelming stimulus that comes in? So this is another thing to think about as you're thinking about managing the human animal. Like, what do I need to do to help my mind to find peace and to be productive and to take a break every now and again? So another thing about animals is that they need purpose, right? And for mammals that are just simply mammals, and they're not like us with consciousness and they're in a mammal's body, they are very clear on purpose because it's all instinct driven, right? It's all about reproduction and survival and all of that. For us, it's more complicated because we need to have this deeper purpose and deeper meaning and connection with people. So this is another thing to think about as you're managing your human animal, realizing like, hey, to be healthy, I need connection. To really live my fullest, I need purpose. I need something to wake up for in the morning. I need something that I'm striving towards. And so all of this really is about discipline. So this is a way to really conceptualize yourself and your discipline of yourself. identifying that there's two parts of me. There's this human animal, this mammal that I live in, that I want to take good care of. And then there's this deeper consciousness. There's this spiritual part of me that has this potentiality for connection and for meaning and for purpose, right? I can do something big. I can make an impact. And to do that, to access all of that, the prerequisite is that we manage this human animal. So I wanted to share that. I hope that one day you, or maybe you've been there before, but I hope that you can experience the Taronga Zoo in Sydney, Australia, or wherever you are. If you observe an animal today and just realize, like, you're looking at this beautiful tiger or your dog or your cat, thinking like, I am a mammal just like you are, and I need to manage this animal that I live in so that I can experience deeper levels of happiness and success and really reach my highest potential with the time that I have on this earth. So thank you for joining me this week. I hope this was interesting. And if it's still weird, this idea of like, you're calling me an animal, like, yes, digest that, think about it. And if it works for you, great. If this idea of I got to manage this animal because there's this deeper part of me that I want to access and I want to allow it to grow, try it on, see if it works for you. Drop me a comment. Let me know if this makes sense or if it was helpful. So thank you for joining me, and I will be back next week with another message.